Hi, so this is just a little update on the progress for this sprint. Right now we're reaching the end of week 2 of sprint 1. Playtesting was quite a success. Managed to get everything together in the first level. We have a dialogue manager, and also the level manager got expanded so that it can stop the player from doing some things like rotating gravity in the tutorial. So a pretty fleshed out level. Um, for this next week, it'll be the last week of the sprint. Main things I want to do is clean up a few things, such as this timer here. Right now it runs off the time the level has been loaded, but obviously that complicates things because if you have the dialogue open, the timer really should stop because the player can't do anything. So that needs to be fixed. Better way of making the timer without just putting in an update function. And then the grav gun cooldown needs to actually be an icon with a cooldown on it rather than just some text telling you how long you have left on the cooldown. Ideally, that'd be in the same place up here with the timer. Other than that, everything is linked up. The timer still works and gives you a score based on your time. All of these things can be set from the level manager script. The other thing that I need to do next week, on the last week of the sprint, is at the moment inside of this level, all of these objects and walls, everything that you see that makes up the level, a lot of them are just placed down, just an empty game object with a sprite renderer or image onto it. And while that works, it's not very good for level designing because I don't have any prefabs or things I can bring in. I have to manually add things. It wasn't such an issue for prototyping this thing out because I didn't really need to um, make a different asset for every single wall here. But I'm going to have a wall asset soon as well. So I want to, in the last week, create prefabs which I can drag in and use for level building. And then on those prefabs, I should be able to choose different types of mesh. So like, for instance, this wall. So this wall has different holes in it. I should be able to choose what holed wall I want, or if I want the wall to be fully fine. Um, and yeah, they should all be to scale of each other, so that if I don't change the scale of the object, they will match up perfectly. Because then I can turn on like a gridlock system where it makes it much easier to build. I'm not using a tile system in this. It's just kind of placed down. So that's another reason I needed to make this, as otherwise I'd have a massive parent object with tons of level design stuff on it. So yeah, that's about it. Really for what I need to do for that week. There's still a few art assets I need to make, like the GravGun cooldown icon and whatever animation I use to show that cooldown. But yeah, that's about it. We've got pretty good progress. There were a few bugs that we found in the playtesting that I fixed. One of them was that these floor buttons, when two objects or an object and a player sit on them, they do the opposite effect. So we fixed that. I'll show you right now. What this basically has now is it has a list of game objects that are touching it, and when one leaves or enters, it will check if it has a game object, at least one, to hold it down. So you can see now, I'm just going to put this on here, and then I'm going to jump on it as well, and you can see that two things are on it, but it's fine, it's still open. I can drop this on there. It might close for a second because it went off, but you can see it's still open. Pushes the box onto it, it's still open. All fine and dandy. The other issue that was commonly pointed out was the controls. Right now we have it as space to swip the wall's gravity, but what people will often do is they'd load the level in, they'd interact it, and they would instinctively hit space to jump, and then they would die. And so I think what we're going to do is we're probably going to change it to right click, but then also need to add at some point next week or in another sprint a key bindings that you can choose in the settings for things like jumping or grav gun rotation. I don't think we need it for movement because WSD is a pretty universal thing. The last thing that was pointed out was in another scene. I'll just get that up now. So on the level select scene, it's a visual error here. I still haven't fixed it. This also needs to be done next week. But essentially the stars and also the locked icon appear in front of the transition. That is because the transition itself is actually an image, while all of these are sprites, and obviously I can't change the sorting order or sorting layer of an image to be on top of these sprites. But at the same time, if I set the sprites to be behind the image, then they don't show up because of the other sprites that they have to be on top of. So that also needs to be fixed. But other than that, that's what sums up week 2. I didn't make a devlog for week 1 because I felt I needed 2 weeks of time to get enough of an update in. But yeah, thank you.